All right. How was everyone this
Hello.
evening?
Not
Excellent.
too.
Fabulous.
Fabulous, fabulous even. That is fantastic. So we're back. We're here to talk one more episode about Cyberpunk Red. This time is mechanics and how everything works. Um with the last two episodes we've talked about the world, we talked about character creation, now the actual gaming system, and I think we're going to add in some conversation about some of the DLCs and things that are out there to help enhance the game. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, with that, let's start off talking about the let's start off talking about attributes and how the combat system works. I think would probably be the best way to start. That's going to be the first thing that people are going to want to know about, and then we can roll in, how to use skills in a live environment. And there's so many skills. So
There are a lot.
how do you tailor right?
Yes, there are.
How do you tailor a situation so that you can actually use those skills, and what would you use those skills on? Would be talk about too, because I mean there's a lot of skills in there that people get confused with, like the education skill. Okay, well, what am I gonna roll education for? You know what I mean, kind of thing. Um, so with that, I'm gonna turn this over to you guys. Which would you like to talk about first? Out of the wonderful stats that
Hmm.
I think if we started from the bottom and we started out with empathy, that would probably be a good idea.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, let's start with empathy. And I don't think a lot of skills. Well, no. There's a couple. There's actually a few. Yeah. And as a rocker boy, I should remember this. Yes, my first character, my longest running character, is a rocker boy. So empathy is basically your ability to relate with other human beings. And for anyone who kind of knows and understands cyberpunk, uh, that might be difficult for some individuals, especially the lower empathy you go. um,
Why wouldn't you want to have lower empathy? I mean, what do you
well, there's a nifty thing called cyberpsychosis. That happens, and it's basically a psychological disorder that the game has built into the core rule set. That the After a certain threshold, I believe it's 20, um, your character basically loses their humanity, start to disassociate, and, um, pretty much go crazy. Um, Now, being
I
that cyberpunk
well,
is
let's hold off
but
right there and get some other
okay.
other input on this. Everybody's way too quiet tonight. So it's just like we're yeah, I mean,
We're in the library
we are apparently. I don't
taking
know.
turns. I'll raise my hand. Teacher, teacher.
Teacher, teacher.
Well, let's hear your take on empathy, Dark Pawn.
Sure. So I look at empathy more in the gaming sense. How much cyberware can I get in my character? Um, Carving the empathy away. So yes, the more cyborg, the more tech you put in your body, the least the less human you are. And I think that's kind of the trope for pretty much all the media you see, and obviously with like the Edge Runners, um, the cartoon that's so popular. You can see that firsthand how it works, all except for good old Atom Smasher. For some reason, that unique individual can be almost full Borg and not worry about it. But for the
Uh,
rest of us chooms, you got to balance it. It's a razor's edge, right?
Right.
Actually, canonically, there are two individuals who don't have to worry about it. One of them
Adam
being Z.
Smasher must have had a really, really high empathy. I mean, he must have. You know, either that or he's just so far gone in the cyberpsychosis world. It's like it's like a big circle. You just go so far in that direction that you end up back at zero again.
Have you read the lore on Smasher, Greg? I'm sure you have. He's born messed up, man. That guy came out just wrong.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
actually, speaking of the
Whoa,
character,
wait a minute. Go ahead, Dark Pond. Tell us what your side of this is, buddy.
No, I was just gonna say.
I have to put a
he's
lid on this
100%
guy
right.
over here named Rob because he's going to talk through the whole thing. So go ahead.
He's pumped about this subject. No, Adam Smasher, yes. Rob is 100% right. He's a unique individual. So I think he was just cracked upon birth, and yeah, he doesn't care. But for the rest of most people, it's a razor's edge, right? How much tech do you want to add in? How much to keep being competitive, and then when you go too far. But the good news is there is therapy. So I highly recommend you get some therapy in the cyberpunk world to bring you back a little bit.
That's actually another interesting mechanic to talk about is the therapy and how that piece works. So go ahead. Whoever would like to let's just focus in on that piece of empathy for a minute. Because we know that you lose empathy for cyberware, which I mean, it's like trading humanity for chaos in a way. What other ways do you lose humanity? And then, if you don't mind, Dark Pawn, I'll have you kind of tell us how you can gain some back. How can you become more human after you've sold your soul to the devil? How do you get it back?
Well, I mean, like I said, the therapy is the one thing that I'm aware of with mechanics that you pay and you put the time in, and then you can get you can roll basically. So it's a randomized feature. It's not like a set amount, and then you can get your humanity back. Um, the other nice thing is, on a side note, is if you have an arm blown off because it's a really nasty world, you don't lose humanity when you get cybernetics due to bad accidents. So if you wait
So it's
long enough,
basically if you get cybernetics by choice, you're going to have a problem. But if you go out and
yeah,
walk in front of something,
if you play in
lose
traffic
limbs,
correctly,
yeah,
yep, got it.
noted.
Well,
Okay, good to know.
I mean, if you're playing in traffic, there's going to be something wrong with you anyway. You're going to be somewhat unhinged, most likely, if you're doing that. Just my kind of take on that.
Well, there's multiple ways to lose humanity. I mean, you can lose humanity from the serious injuries as well. That's part of why, if you like Darkpon was saying, if you get your arm blown off, I mean, you don't have to spend more humanity to get it replaced with a cyber arm, because you're going to lose humanity based on the fact that you don't have an arm anymore.
So it seems like more that the humanity is more for traumatic experiences and whatnot, and to the human body, for me specifically, is how I look at it and interpret it. If you're going to cut into your body, you're going to lose a portion of yourself, just like people with like phantom limb syndrome who lose a leg. Sometimes they think it's still there. The brain makes this map of the body, and now it has to rewrite itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, new neural pathways and all that good stuff. So humanity also is a measure of exactly what I mean. Humanity, it's how you deal with situations and other people. Maybe not situations so much because you have cool for that, but how you deal with other people. So,
and it's really how you are able to read and interpret other people's facial expressions and their body language too, which I think is important. That's where I have a problem, like building characters. Is I'm always like, okay, I want to be able to read people and understand what their actions mean in context. So it doesn't matter what game I'm playing. I'm always like, okay, high charisma or high empathy, those sorts of things. So I'm working to not constantly build that character, but it's really hard because it's kind of my default.
Cool. So if you there's also cybernetics that you can get that will help you with that. So it's almost like trading humanity for a machine that's going to help you do the same thing. Sort of. I kind of envision it like AI today. I mean, you can kind of create an image, but you're going to have like 8 fingers. I mean, no big deal.
Well, there's also cyberware that you can get that doesn't impact your humanity as well.
There is.
Much of that is just the what do they call it? Fashion wear. And there's actually quite a few things that you can do in that. That's actually quite um, what's the word I want to say? Creative, and not hit your humanity very hard in the game system.
Yes, there is. There's a lot of cosmetic things that you can do. Kind of like the skin that you can get that changes color, your hair that changes color. Um One thing that isn't actually talked about a whole lot is the bio enhancements. So they're called exotics. But you can actually get bio upgrades, which will like a person say you want to have cat ears. I mean, you can do that. You can genetically enhance yourself to have cat ears or fur or lizard skin or
Tail.
a tail. Yes.
Yes,
Yes, you
Willow,
can.
you can be a furry.
Hey, you haven't met my.
Look, we're not calling each other out on stream. Let's
You haven't met my netrunner
calm
yet.
down.
Trust me.
Well, we kind of are. I mean,
That's fine. I'm not a furry, thank you.
no.
But I'm not adverse to enhancements. Just as long as it doesn't go too far. I do draw a line.
I think there's a lot of really unique things you can do with your character. That's the thing when it comes to Cyberpunk and the mechanical piece to it, using your empathy to control how much you can do, is definitely in a unique mechanic. Because if you start out and you want to be a combat god or whatever it happens to be, and you focus too many points into other things and you have a low empathy, you put yourself at risk of going into the cyberpsychosis thing that Rob was talking about. And really serious risk, because the lower that empathy score gets, the less human you really are, and the more likely you are to freak out and blow somebody's head off, just like in the Edge Runner anime. And if you think about if you think about that scene in the Edge Runner anime, I mean that guy didn't by any means seem normal, but he was pretty much minding his own business until they decided to go mess with him. And then his response to them messing with him was to just pull out a gun and shoot and shoot somebody.
Yeah.
No, nothing human there. Just no warning.
Well, we've got that going on sometimes in our world right now. It's part of the chaos of humanity.
Absolutely. So, which is next? Pick Rob. I'm gonna have you pick one. Which one's next?
We're gonna go with cool.
Cool.
Hmm.
All right. Who's gonna start us out talking about cool?
So basically,
yeah, go ahead.
it's being able to walk into a room and impress people with your charisma and how smooth you are and how you speak and all of those sorts of things, and getting along with people, and you know being able to pull people to your side when maybe they don't want to be or are sort of on the fence.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody got any other thoughts on how cool is used or how it could be used?
Well, I agree with Foxy Project, but it could also be used for intimidation. Well, I think cool is probably meant just for a general, um, sort of want to say, reading the room, propaganda, stuff like that. To be honest, how to get people to sway them either way for you or intimidate them, and how well you're able to do that.
Absolutely. So, what kind of skills do you think cool ties to?
Rocker boys, corpos. I mean, media. I mean,
Yeah.
man, who doesn't it? I mean, even just edge runners in general. I mean, anybody can edge run, but only good. The only high level ones can make it look cool.
Right?
Well, and things like successfully bribing people,
Mhm.
um, wardrobe and style. That's another one of the things that, that's under the cool category, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's about being cool, right?
Not being cool. You got to be cool. Being streetwise.
Hmm?
It's cool.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's been a minute.
So,
I've played the
Trading,
game.
interrogation,
Haggling, yep.
uh,
Haggling.
bribery. That's a good one.
And
Hmm.
I'm not entirely sure if this is red, but I know, Greg, you used cool in an interesting way
how's that?
during combat.
Yeah, that is actually a mechanic for cool. If
No, I
Hmm.
you,
know. I
yep,
just can't remember if it's in red or in 2020.
it's
Might
in
be
red.
red. It
It's in
might be
both
both.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, basically what I'm alluding to is keeping your composure in what would normally be for a normal quote unquote person tense situation like a gunfight or a standoff, things like that. Kind of circling back to what Greg was saying,
Hmm.
in Night City, style over substance. You gotta, if something blew up, you gotta, make sure that you meant for it to blow up, kind of play it off. Definitely factors into cool. And yes, rocker boys for sure.
Fun to make sure you don't freak out when people are shooting at you. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah. Don't lose your composure and start getting cold feet when the bullets start flying.
right. Some people will use that mechanic and some people don't. I mean, as a GM in for the game, it just depends on your players. I mean, if your party wants to create they want to go all in on the style over substance, and there's just be a bunch of badasses that we're just no problem. I can walk through machine gun fire, no problem at all. Bullets are just gonna bounce off of me. If that's the way you want to
Yeah,
play, then okay, don't use that
go ahead.
mechanic. But if you want to add a little sense of what would really happen, then they should roll a cool check and see, you know what I mean? Are they really okay with walking into the line of fire? Or
Well, I was gonna say it's interesting. Um, I don't think I was thinking about this when I brought up cool. How cool and empathy kind of go hand in hand. And the reason why I mentioned that, I was thinking of as you were saying, Greg. You know, it's a mechanic that can be utilized in the game where you're in a gunfight, and are you going to be that guy who's steely eyed and you know okay, or are you going to lose your shit? And a perfect example of that is actually in the Edge Runners anime, where character of David, you kind of see his transition from initial Edge Runner, where he does get into a situation where he's in a firefight and he kind of, I don't want to say craps himself, but he's nervous. He doesn't know. He freezes up, and then as he progresses, as the show progresses, ironically enough, is when he gets more cyberware, he kind of gets more desensitized to it all.
He went out and bought some brown pants. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he bought himself some brown pants, probably got a paint editor and some other stuff, and now he's cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, cool is a very important stat. It just depends on how you want your character to react to things. That's really, if you want to be that guy who really can maintain their composure no matter what the situation is, then you want to have a high cool stat. And it also, then the skills that go along with that kind of play into that. You're the one who doesn't get shaken easy. You're the one who can interrogate people and all those things. What's next? I don't want to spend the whole evening talking about stats, so I want to roll through them somewhat quickly.
I feel like luck would be a good one to talk about.
Yeah.
Go for it. What is luck?
So, luck is basically if you walk into a situation, I mean, flip a coin, heads or tails, odd or even, and the higher luck you have, the better chance you have of guessing correctly.
Odd or even is not an actual mechanic in the game, but
No, I know.
one that I use.
I was just for anyone who watches. That's oftentimes if there's kind of a flip of the coin, odd or even, and you roll a die, and we say odd or even, and if we get it right, then we get to say how things went.
Right.
It
Right.
could be a mechanic in the game if you want to play it as a mechanic in the game.
Absolutely. So
Mechanically speaking, also.
how does I'm sorry, go ahead. I mean, I'm how do you use luck? How would you use your luck? How about that?
I was actually about to get to that. Luck is actually, unless I'm mistaken, the only stat that you can spend.
Yeah,
Now,
pretty
I'm not
much.
saying you can't
No.
lose other stats, but I'm pretty sure luck is the only one that you can spend. And yeah, as per the rule book, you can spend it to bump up your score or your chance of success, I should say. So if you're if you roll your dice and you're kind of maybe a few points off, you can spend that luck to kind of get you to the threshold that you need to succeed. Um, and then Foxy said nail on the head. It's in world, it's the luck of the draw. It's the roll of the dice. It's the fates were with you today. Tomorrow you may not be so lucky.
So now I'm curious, each one of you guys, if you had your choice as to how luck would function, because in the game it is literally a 1-for-1. That's the rule. A 1-for-1. You had your choice of how luck would function in the game. How would you want it to work?
Ooh, I'll go first. So I'm gonna first say luck is my least favorite, like, of all the attributes. I do not like it. Um, I like to lower it as much as possible. Um, just because I kind of like bad things to happen. I mean, it's part of the game, right? I mean, it's just my personal opinion. But how I would have it work in a perfect world is if you spend luck, you know, maybe it turns a really bad situation, at least not into a fatal situation. So if the enemy crits and let's say it says they blow your head off or whatever, if you spend a luck before that outcome, um, you know, perhaps you lose an eye instead of end it all right there. I think that's the way I would look at it. Use the luck to not go to the worst extreme, but to just soften it a little bit, but not to change it completely. Like that's my opinion.
I would agree with that because things are a lot more interesting when stuff goes sideways.
I'd have to agree too. I look at luck as kind of the oh shit button out of all of the stats. Like, oh shit, I'm dead. Okay, let me kind of just pull myself back from the edge just a bit. It's the I think of it as the Wile E. Coyote. Slams into the ground. He's still living, but still didn't get Roadrunner.
Right? How
Luck
about
is
you?
the ability to hold up a sign that says "ouch."
Yep.
I got to remember that one. But you,
I feel
Rob?
like
I
that's
don't
a
know.
T-shirt.
Um, I think for me, how I would kind of mechanically use luck, it would kind of be an all or nothing thing for me. As like you said, it's a one for one uh, use as of right now. You spend one, you gain one plus one to whatever you roll. I think for me, I would have it be all or nothing, meaning I would spend maybe one or however many is applicable for a guaranteed success. Like, and that I put a die roll into it because again, let's put a little chance in there. Spend my luck and roll a die.
Hmm. Oh,
In the
That's just
context
me.
of like a one shot or like when we played at GaryCon, I did like the ability to basically negate a bad outcome by using luck. However, I think in a long-term campaign, that would get really kind of boring, honestly.
Yeah, you could spend and be like, nope,
Yeah.
nope, not
Be
gonna do
like,
it. And that's
that's
pretty
not
much
what
what it is.
happened.
I mean, obviously, if you have the uh, requisite amount of luck, that's pretty much what you can do now. You can make a guarantee, failure to success or what have you. And I mean, cool, I guess. I don't know. I'd still like the chance of potential failure, even if I spend the luck. Oh, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. Who knows?
well, the idea that there's something to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece. You know what I mean? Is
Because
if you completely take away the idea that you have something to lose, then it really
Yeah.
does
what's the
kind
point
of
in playing?
right. It kills it. I mean, you're not really telling a
Like,
story then.
like I don't hate it as much as Dark Pawn does,
Mhm.
but I do understand kind of where he's coming from. It's if you have plot armor, and you're always slated to win or survive or whatever the case may be. It gets
I'd
boring.
I use it two different ways. One in normal play, I essentially I double the luck, so I give you 2 points for every one.
That seems more realistic, to be fair, though. I mean, I
Yeah,
do like that how you do that. Um, I mean that it makes it actually worth it. I mean, because 1 point, it's not like breaking the bank there.
right. Well, and if you only have one luck, then what's the you know what I mean? That's kind of
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, if you have really low luck and it's a 1-to-1, it kind of
Murphy
hurts you a
really
little
loves
bit.
you.
Yeah,
yeah,
so, yeah. I was gonna
you
say,
bastard.
it's gonna suck.
Every character I have will always have low luck. I don't like to leave it to fate. I mean, that's just my opinion. I like to suffer the dice rolls, good, bad, or indifferent. I think it all adds to the story. And if my character's time is up, then I hope he goes out with a bang, and it's pretty epic.
Yeah, it
I mean,
and
that is one thing Cyberpunk is meant for. Those epic moments.
exactly. Well, and who I love games that are designed that way about the epic moments. That's because it makes you think about how do I tell a good story? How do I make this into a good story? Um,
Right.
the other thing with luck, then I said two ways. When I'm for conventions, I always use luck as a basically get out of jail free card, but I also pre-design the characters, so it's not like a character can, a player can bump their luck up to 8. Well, I got 8 times to get out. No, I pre-design the characters, so that piece is a little bit controlled, so we don't have anybody who just is, gonna walk through the line of fire every time.
Yep.
All right,
Well, and to
what
be fair, I think everybody used their luck at the con
they
very
did,
judiciously because I think everybody had a whole bunch of luck left over at the end of every session.
yeah. Well, and people, if you're I mean, if you create a setting where the idea is to tell a story, then that's what people want to do. They want to tell a story.
hmm
They, you know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
about we're not sitting down playing a board game where it's about winning. You know, you're not going to win. You're not going to well, I guess you might lose if your character dies. That could be considered a loss, I guess.
Unless they went out in an epic way, then
Yeah.
that's
Right.
absolutely a win.
Then maybe they won. So maybe dying is the way to win or lose. I mean, maybe that's the idea.
Well, in Edge Runners, the cartoon, I think everybody can think of one character who went out, and it was epic. I mean,
Was
I
indeed
would.
a blaze of glory.
It was a blaze of glory, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but she is amazing, and I think that was like the standout moment of the whole thing. I mean, that one character, when that happened, everybody was like, "Oh my god!" Like it was just mind
So
blowing.
mad.
Yep,
So mad.
everybody, and it just defined that. I mean, and arguably was a side character. I mean, it wasn't
hmm
really the main character, but it hit harder than I think anything else. Now that's all you can ask for, right? When you're playing a game. I mean, I don't. I mean, that's my opinion. Again, I don't know what the rest of you think.
Yeah, you want a
No, you're
character to
right.
be remembered, and if you go out in a blaze of glory, people are going to remember.
Absolutely. It's a memorable moment, which is awesome. All right, so there's luck. What's next?
I guess I'll pick up on this one. I'll say tech, probably the most important in the game.
Well, that might be debatable, but okay.
Oh, well, I
Uh,
said might be. Might be. I mean, you look at the world of Cyberpunk, it's nothing but technology, wall to
I
wall.
mean, you're not necessarily wrong, Willow. Like I see where you're coming from there.
I mean, it's you've got tech from weapons to cybernetics to
Playing instruments.
instruments. It's all over the place.
Demolitions. I mean, you
Yep.
can't be a mythbuster in Cyberpunk without tech.
Well, you might be, but you might end up blowing yourself up real quick.
I
Who
mean, that's
knows?
valid. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be a mythbuster for long.
Right?
A short-lived career.
hmm
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it could be epic.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, how do I say this?
Ooh,
Tech is definitely not just about technology in the sense of computer. You know,
Mhm.
Cyberpunk is it's a world where technology has kind of taken over um, to a very, depending on who you ask, unhealthy degree. So being able to interface with that both figuratively and literally um, is definitely an important skill. I mean, some of the classes roles, I should say, rely heavily on, i.e.,
Definitely.
the techie. Yeah.
Techie, Netrunner.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Even the nomad, I would say too.
yeah, the Nomad. Yeah, definitely. Who's gonna fix your car? Nobody but yourself. So,
Gotcha. Well, and tech is very important depending on your character. I mean, even like honestly, even your solos. I mean, to some degree, you want to have some tech skill to be able to like
hmm
fix your own equipment. You know,
Yeah.
well, yeah, then you're getting into like, is it weapons tech versus cyber tech versus um, specific individual technical parts. That's why I'm saying I think tech is probably the single most important, if not the most, probably one of them
well,
for the whole
Well,
game.
and
go ahead, go ahead.
first aid is considered tech too.
All right. Medical tech.
So I think, yeah, there are so many things that tech goes into, even into art like painting, drawing, sculpting, that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, it goes into a lot.
It does. Well, and so since we're on that piece, we're talking about first aid, and everything involved with that. So how does that work when it comes to, because it's tech-based skill, but I mean, what is first aid for?
think that's a good segue into the rest of the
That's
skill set.
applying medical treatments
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to treat most common critical injuries and keep people from dying. Tech also goes to paramedic, um, that treats all critical injuries not requiring surgery.
Right. So when you get injured, it's not like a necessarily a one and done thing where, okay, I got a shot. I took, 5 points of damage. Um, what would happen if you got shot? You would bleed, right?
Yeah, depends upon the bullet. Did it go through you? Did it lodge
Either
in
way, you're going to
something?
bleed.
Yeah. Did it tear up an organ?
I ain't got
Tear
time,
up a
please.
arm or a
time.
leg?
But
Well,
You
that's
got time
is
to duck?
yeah, that's one thing I will say that I love about, and I know we're kind of getting off of the traits or attributes here, but I promise I'll keep it short and sweet. Is the level of injury and danger that is applied. Now, obviously, you have homebrews and people can up the ante or lower it depending on their particular table. But of a lot of the games that I've played, not all of them, a lot of the games I've played, I think Cyberpunk is at baseline one of the most lethal, and it's fitting for the work. I'll use an example. D&D, you get hit, okay, cool. I'm gonna throw a heal on you. Cool, you're good now. And there are certain aspects in that where other effects, but it's really kind of cut and dry. Whereas Cyberpunk has a lot more nuance in the injury scheme. Hence, first aid and
Yeah, and when it
paramedic.
comes to the injury scheme of things, you're absolutely, I agree 100% with you. When it Okay, so and just to make sure that we point this piece out. So first aid is used to stabilize a wound. Okay, so if you get injured, like seriously injured, not there's different levels to how badly injured you are. So once you get past like 50% of your hit points are gone, you're going to start to experience negatives to your skills. And that's how that's reflected basically in gameplay. Um, what you want to do is you want to get yourself stabilized. You want to get bandaged up. You want to, you know what I mean? If you're bleeding, you want to get a band-aid on that bullet wound so, stops all the bleeding, right? Um, or bubble gum. I mean, that could work too. Just shove it in the hole. Um, super glue. I mean, all kinds of good stuff. But
It's the future.
that's the idea behind it. Is you want to be able to treat those minor injuries. That would be first aid. Now, a more serious injury would be something that you'd want to look at, um, the paramedic skill and have that be what you know what I mean. Depending on what happens, like if you get your arm blown off, like we were talking about earlier, I mean, a band-aid's probably not going to do it. Just saying. But you're going to want somebody who has some skills to take care of you to get you stable.
Wouldn't it just be the size of the band-aid gets bigger if your arm gets blown off?
Sure.
Always keep an extra arm in the trunk.
It sounds like we're
I mean,
mixing Cyberpunk with Saints Row here or something.
that's not a bad idea actually. Keep a spare cyber limb.
So, so I
Yeah.
want to talk about what I think the most important attribute.
Go for it.
It is also in the combat group, combat group is tech, and then what I think the most important is, my opinion, is reflexes. So yeah, you can make guns with tech and you can fix guns with tech, but that's great. It's sitting on a table and it looks good. But in order to shoot somebody and reach out and put it where you want it, you want reflexes. And the flip side is, if you don't want those holes in your body that you got to put bubble gum in, that Greg was talking about, you want to have very high reflexes. And technically, per the book rules, you have to have an 8 to even have a chance at dodging. So I think that's one of my favorites. And I think just the whole, like, solo, cyborg, just moving quick. I mean, it's that trope, right? Like Universal Soldier, all that stuff. Like, just when I think about that genre, I just think of the, everybody just wired up, fast reflexes, moving, that kind of thing. So I love, I love reflexes. Sorry, go ahead, Foxy.
I think bullet time from the Matrix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Yep.
So you pointed out one thing there that I just want to speak to really quickly, and that's the DM style to play. And yes, rules is written, you have to have an 8 in reflex to be able to dodge a bullet. I will allow my players to roll an evasion roll, regardless of what their reflex is. Sometimes that might end up being ridiculous. You know what I mean? If you have a low evasion and a low reflex, then it could be pointless. But you also have exploding dice. So you have that opportunity to, one more thing you could say, get lucky on. And, you roll that d10, you get a 10, you roll another d10, you get a 10, you roll another d10. And suddenly you have a guy who has 7 between their reflex and their evasion who manages to evade that bullet. Not likely to happen, but, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
It says always a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought up another kind of piece of the mechanics puzzle there, Greg. The D10. You should probably explain that.
Let's finish getting through this. And then we'll go. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about how it plays in with the attribute and the skill. And so we have reflex, we have body. How about that one next?
Steroids.
Addictions. Yay.
So body is all about just body is basically about your physical ability to maintain yourself. I wouldn't say necessarily strength. Constitution, I think, is the best way I would put. That adds to your health pool.
It does determine your strength because it determines how much you can carry, essentially. And certain weapons you can't use if you don't have a high enough body score.
True.
It's really your physicality to overcome whatever challenges with your body.
Right.
Lifting, carrying, resistance,
combat,
taking
endurance.
damage. Yep.
Contortionism, being able to get yourself out of handcuffs and stuff, is under the body skills too. So if you foresee, being in a group of people who potentially could get either tied up or handcuffed, and it's cyberpunk, might want to keep an eye out on that one.
That's my every weekend.
So yeah, body's very important because body also is one of the skills that helps determine what your hit points are. So how much damage you can take. And of course, hold on. Welcome back, Foxy.
I mean, it's streaming, so if you're not having issues, you're not actually doing it.
Well, I changed a screen that I am not actually using, and bam, it dropped everybody out. Darn it.
All right, he failed his tech roll.
I did fail my tech roll, miserably so.
Oh, darn it.
But he's using his luck to fix it, so we're good.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there we go. That good luck point.
Stealth is also another body skill.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, which always, I don't know. That one was always a curious one. I think it would be something like reflexes or
Dexterity.
or dexterity. Yeah.
Well, I mean, reflexes and dexterity almost go hand in hand. They're almost kind of the same thing. You would think they would overlap, but they're separate in this system.
Mm.
And so that kind of means, like, what is reflexes and what is dexterity? Is dexterity your ability to manipulate items, and reflexes just your ability to react? You know,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I can answer that.
okay, well, let's go ahead and hear that answer.
Yeah.
So, per the book, your dexterity is your overall physical competence as it pertains to balancing, leaping, jumping, combat, and other athletic activities. A gymnast would have a high dexterity.
Yes.
Hmm,
So
And-
basically moving kinesthetics, like moving your body through space
yeah.
and body awareness. But,
Well,
yeah,
that's the
technically that
funny
would be
thing.
different.
So
Okay.
there is an actual, you have a movement or a move ability. So
Mhm.
that's even in there. It gets a little convoluted.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
think some of them would overlap, but
And I think you could probably make an argument for using whatever you have the highest number in, if you can explain it appropriately
There you go.
to your GM.
There you
Mhm.
go. And that's the idea right there, really, when it comes to the RP aspect of it, is depending upon what you're doing. How do you explain what you're doing? And that
Yeah,
then would determine what skill you would
the funny thing is, like, dexterity does cover leaping, and in movement it talks about leaping. It's just how fast you do it. So leap, it kind of, to put it in perspective, your dexterity is, if you're going to leap from one roof to another, you'd make a dexterity check. Your movement's showing you how fast you can actually get it done. So you might be able to do it. If you have a low movement, you'll do it. It'll just be really slow. Versus, yes, having a high movement, maybe clear a couple buildings at the same time frame. So
Slow
it all,
mo.
yeah, it all plays a part. But like you said, you can kind of decide. Are you leaping it, or are you throwing yourself across it, or using your body?
That's the way I do it. Is I just ask the player. It's a point blank thing. You want to do this. What skill are you going to use, and how does that make sense? Essentially, you can tell me what skill you want to use. You just have to explain it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be tied directly to, like, for instance, I mean, if you're a really good dancer and you can explain some way that you can use that dancing as a combat related skill, I'm not going to tell you no, go for it, make the roll. If you fail the roll, you're going to look stupid, but that's okay.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's
But
a
we'll
good.
only judge you a little bit.
Only
Yeah.
a little.
I mean, that's a good example, Greg. If you actually look, what is it, Jamaica? There's a whole dance that's
Mhm.
based upon a martial art, and they hid that martial art as a dance form because of the ruling class at the point in time. They didn't want the native
you're
people.
thinking
And
of Brazil.
oh, Brazil, or is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes,
Is
it's
okay?
Brazil.
Yeah, it's Brazil.
Capoeira.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
Oh,
So
the Jamaicans could have something similar. I wouldn't know, but I think the one you're thinking of is Brazil.
It might be. It might be, but there is definitely situations where that has arisen.
So one more thing I want to point out, that your body skill, and I'm backing up a moment, but your body skill also determines your death save. Which is an important number, because when you hit 0, you don't go into negatives, you just hit 0. And you have to make a death save. The higher your death save, and the death save is essentially a number, and then you roll a d10 against it. And as long as you roll under that death save number, you live. each turn that you go without having been stabilized, that death save is going to go down by 1. So there is potential that if you don't have anybody there that can help you and stabilize you, that after so many turns you're going to fail that roll, and that's it. You're going to be the turtle from 2077. Nobody caught on to that. Oh, anyway. So we have a couple more skills left. So we've talked about reflex, we've talked about dex, we talked about tech, cool, empathy, body, move. I'm going to say we talked about that. Luck. We got willpower and we got intelligence. Well, not willpower, will. I didn't misspoke there. So what is will? What's that all about? Probably one of the most misunderstood ones.
Bueller.
Yep.
Well,
It is your determination and ability to face danger and or stress. Represents your courage.
So will also relates to combat in a very similar way to cool. Only will is kind of the before piece to it is, do you lose your nerve or not?
Yeah.
What else?
It's also, it kind of also ties in, well, number one, it's the other half of your hit point calculations.
Yes.
It ties in with body to figure out kind of where you land on a nice nifty chart in the core rulebook on where you're going to, or how much hit points you're gonna to have. The thing I also like about it is the skills that it's tied to. One of them being resist torture drugs, because drugs are a very prominent thing in Cyberpunk. Obviously, the universe, depending on how often you use them at your table, is based on the table. But yeah, I say that because one of my characters,
they can be
a rocker boy.
They can be. Drugs can be, absolutely. It doesn't. You don't have to play. That's up to the individual tastes. Absolutely, drugs can be a big piece of your game. But they don't have to be. That's really up to your taste. I prefer to leave it wide open because it is the dark future, and what do you expect to find in Night City or wherever you are on the. If you played 2077, you can tell that most of those people walk around like they're in a daze anyway, high on something. So
synth coke is a hell of a drug, man.
It's they just all really hate life, or they're just too high to care. Something's got to be going on.
Both. Honestly, I would say both in this universe. I can't, I can't blame them. Can't blame them because Night City is a rough place, man.
And the last one we have is intelligence. So what does that matter? If you got a good reflex, you can shoot things. Good body, you can withstand things. You can be lucky and fast. And you got empathy, so you can have a whole pile of side. What the hell do you need intelligence for?
Well, so you don't shoot that lawman that's driving down the road and to get your ass in jail.
Well,
or at least shot by the rest of the police force.
I fought the law and the law won.
And it covers intelligence. Intelligence also covers your awareness and your perception. So you can't shoot something if you don't know it's there.
Yep. One of the other really important things is pretty much all of your your intelligence based stuff, things like accounting and bureaucracy, gambling, things like that. And unless I'm mistaken, as your net running.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Yep, cryptography. Yep, definitely part of net running.
when you're creating things, right?
What about your
Yeah.
education skill? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Your ability to understand and kind of reference things and look up stuff and kind of put pieces together to solve a problem. Stay in school, kids.
absolutely.
Oh man, what would school be like in Night City?
But you get a taste of it in the
Well,
cartoon,
well,
right?
you get a particular taste of it. Yeah, you get to
Yep.
see kind of what it's like at a
Which is a
corpo run.
privilege. Yeah, privilege
Yeah,
school.
it's privileged side of things. They never show you kind of the public school. I mean, do they even have? Oh, that's an interesting one. Anyway, not to get off topic, but
It sounds like a
yeah.
great game.
Oh, it sounds like an interesting setting. Like what would happen at a Night City Community College?
Next week on Cyberpunk Middle School.
Hey, next
Oh my
week we
God.
are going to do a one. Next week we're going to do a one shot. So, I mean, hopefully you guys
knows?
are ready to play.
Ooh. That's gonna be
Next
fun.
week. Next week at Night City Community College might actually be a thing.
The
There will be a
greaser
taco truck involved.
and the socials. We'll have the socials and the greasers.
Socials and the
Oh, boy.
greasers. All right, so now we've kind of talked through the attributes and covered a lot of the skills as we've gone through there. So now let's really move into the mechanical piece to this. So if I give you a scenario, give me an idea, and give me an idea of what skill you would use and how you would use it. Okay?
Seduction.
That's
Oh, sorry.
not always the answer.
Damn it. All right. Hey,
You could
that's how I
try.
run my
I mean,
game. Come on.
You run Alien. There better not be any seduction. That's pretty scary.
That's
Hey.
always the answer so far.
Seducing
Hey,
the
look,
aliens.
suggestion works. Why do you think
You
everybody
never
wants to play the
know
bard?
what a human will do when they're extremely cornered.
Not
So,
that.
That's fatal attraction right there.
Nope.
I-
All right. So, what is this scenario?
All right. Well, that threw me completely off because seduction. I mean, wow. Tell you what, I'm going to pass the challenge on now because that really did completely wipe my brain for a moment. How about you come up with a challenge and pick who is going to answer the challenge?
Oh, Raz has got to answer.
I'll answer the challenge too. I'm part of the
Okay.
pool. Or the audience can give us a challenge and we can tell them how we would confront that situation.
I think that's pretty good. I think we should hear from the audience. They're ever quiet.
They are pretty quiet tonight. Insomnia Night.
All right. So, I've
is
got
out there.
a scenario.
Oh.
So, you are out, walking around in the outskirts of town, crest a hill, and there are 3 people standing there. Everybody's got their guns drawn, and they see you coming up, and they point their guns at you because you're the new point of interest coming up over the hill. So, what do you do?
Who?
Who do you want to tackle this one?
You
Oxy?
know what? One of each.
One of each.
One
I'll
of
go
each.
first.
I
I'm
think
gonna start
everybody needs to
dancing.
answer it. Do it. Oh yeah, seduction's not an option.
I'm not trying to seduce them. I'm a cool dancer, so I'm gonna start dancing because I'm sure these
Harder to
guys
hit a
like.
moving target.
Well, could be. I
That's-
could
yep.
be a moving target. But if I start dancing, they don't expect me to start dancing. So I can start dancing and, maybe lull them into this sense of what is wrong with this guy. And then if I make my role and I do like the most awesome break dancing moves, and I'm gonna go all out, man. I'm gonna be down on the floor spinning on my head and stuff. And the whole time I'm going to be getting ready to pull up and start auto fire on these three guys. What do you think? Did I just die?
I mean, if you're dancing smooth enough, you could always just try to disarm them as you're going.
See, there you go. So dancing is a viable skill to use in that situation, I think.
No.
Okay. Who's next?
I guess I will take the challenge next.
Reading,
So, coming up, I'm going to use the lip reading skill. Read what they're trying to say and then mouth to them behind you like I can't talk, like behind you. And as soon as they turn, get the fuck out of there.
Okay, so Foxy would kill you at this point.
I don't know if your stealth and movement speed were fast enough. You could get away.
Foxy's being a nice GM tonight.
She is.
I'll spend my luck.
I have an answer for this one, or my particular answer. So you say I just crested a hill. There's how many guys again?
There's 3. It's like a standoff.
It's a Mexican standoff. Are they pointing guns at me or at each other?
Well, at first they were pointing them at each other, but then they saw you crest the hill, and now they've got their guns pointed at you.
Am I in a vehicle or am I just strolling along?
You're just walking, just taking a walk.
Just taking a walk. Okay, I'm tossing grenades. And if you know anything about my character, Roland, you know that's definitely on par for this character. I'm throwing grenades. Absolutely throwing grenades.
I mean, it is a valid course of action.
Absolutely throwing grenades. And I'm at least gonna kill one of them.
And then, you can get away while the smoke clears.
Yeah, that's right.
Things die down.
Few bystanders, but hey.
There's only the 3 guys, so there are no bystanders. I wouldn't be worried about it.
It's a price
Collateral
I'm willing
damage.
to pay. It's a price I'm willing to pay.
The death of a few innocent bystanders.
I mean, is anyone in Night City really innocent?
No.
No, but they could be innocent bystanders in that situation.
So
well, I mean, there's varying degrees of innocent. So it's all a big gray goo.
So that leave me? Do I have to pick my...
Yep.
I was wondering what the whole luck thing was all about, because I'm just waiting to hear the story behind that.
I know. I feel like there's got to be something going on there.
I'm going to go with acting. So as soon as I come into view and they start pulling guns on me, I'm going to be like, I'm a really good person. Yeah, I'm definitely a good person, and I'm gonna just walk by them and just try to like see if I can freak them the hell out. Maybe they'll just be like, "What the hell?"
I think that might work.
Yeah, yes, of course, I'm a really good driver. Yeah, I drive slow in the driveway.
Might actually fucking work.
Are they gonna shoot me, Foxy, or are they gonna just get out of my
Wapner's
way?
on at 7. I can't miss Wapner. Wapner's on at 7.
Wapner.
Oh yeah, Charlie Babbitt, definitely Charlie Babbitt. Yeah.
Where is this? This is from a movie, isn't it?
Rain Man.
I thought so. I haven't seen that movie, but yeah, I thought so.
Loving it.
All right, somebody else needs to come up with a scenario.
You know what? Insomnia Night came up with a scenario, and I think I got a good twist on this. So
here we go.
I'm gonna try this, Insomnia. We'll see how this goes. All right, you let me know if I got the spirit of what you wanted here. So in the neon-soaked gutters of Night City, the megacorp Nutriplex has genetically engineered a 1-ton hyper-intelligent talking pig named Sir Snortsworth, to be the centerpiece of their new line of synthetic meat alternatives. Problem is, Sir Snortsworth doesn't want to be meat. Can't blame him for that. He wants to be a DJ. And it just so happens that he wants to be a DJ of industrial cyber rock. So the company has hired you to either one, try to convince Sir Snortsworth that he is meat, or two, turn him into meat. But trick is that you can't shoot him.
Oh, I already have an answer for this one.
Oh.
I already have an answer for this one.
If you shoot him, you get paid nothing. But if you convince him that it's okay to be meat, or just turn him into meat, then you get paid.
Got an answer for this one.
2,000 eddies each. Okay, go for it. What? Since you're vocal, what's your answer? Let's hear this.
See, I'm gonna sit down, not with Snortsworth, well, with Snortsworth and the corpos, and tell them they can kill two birds with one stone. One, they want Mrs. Snortsworth to be their new, kind of poster boy for their new line of meat. Okay, cool.
It's Mrs. Snortsworth now. So Sir is gone.
It's Mr.
Mrs.
Sir,
Snortsworth
Sir,
is now in
Mr.
the room.
No, I said Mr.
Oh.
I said Mr., not Mrs.
Uncle Snortsworth.
Uncle Snortsworth. So Sir Snortsworth would make a great DJ. But wouldn't that be a great thing to showcase their new line of meat? Plastered on billboards across the city, across the country, especially if it's a good enough DJ. He gets to live, be a DJ, and you get a continuous advert for your new line of meat.
I don't know, Insomnia. What do you think?
I'd obviously have to roll a couple of checks and stuff for that.
Megaton bacon.
Megaton, look at that.
Bacon.
Megaton bacon. Megaton
right.
bacon. That's his first hit single.
That's one approach. So let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I mean, I've got something.
Well, then, since
Okay,
you
there's a
spoke
hook,
up, go.
apparently.
So they're saying they're going to pay me 2,000 eddies to basically turn Sir Snortsworth into meat.
Right. Or
I
at least
say
convince
I'm-
him that, it's okay to be meat.
I think I could make more than 2,000 eddies being Sir Snortsworth manager. I think, the corporation can take that money and stick it where the sun don't shine. Sir Snortsworth and I are going into business.
Yeah, this is the hook.
I kind of like that, because it means you just made some enemies, and I now have more ways to try and kill you. It's fantastic.
And I'm going to have a whole crap ton of money that I can hire all kinds of solos to watch my back. And I don't really have to do that much work. Sir Snortsworth's doing all the work, really. So
Well, there is an
sit
interesting
back
hook.
and rake in the money.
How much worth is Sir Snortsworth worth? If Snortsworth was worth.
I don't
He's
even
worth
want to try that. I don't
Yeah,
even
no.
want to try that.
Yeah, not going there.
Too many W's in there. Bleh.
All right. We're gonna switch this up, because Insomnia has expanded upon what he originally had. So we're gonna switch this up and move over to the hook and the mission objective that he has. So the hook. A fixer named Greasy D's hires you to liberate Sir Snortsworth from Neutroplex's underground test facility before he's uploaded to the cloud as bacon-flavored behavioral data. The catch: the pig has implanted access codes to a dormant orbital weapons platform buried in his DNA. And every rival corp wants a bite. So your mission objective is to get Sir Snortsworth safely to his DJ gig at Club Pulse before sunrise, or the kill kill switch implanted in his tail goes off, and he takes a chunk of Night City with him. Wow. All right, let's roll with
That
that.
changes things.
I mean, we could have RP'd the whole Greasy D's thing. I mean, that sounds like a character I'd play.
I'm thinking the whole like Ocean's 11 bank heist, get a couple of trucks, switch things around, you know, play hide the pig and what truck he's in, and
Can go on. I like this hide the pig thing. Please expand on that.
Let's see.
He's a big pig. You could be a big pig too.
Operation Pigs in a Blanket.
there you
I
go.
like
See, we even have a name now. What could go wrong?
I think we add
Absolutely
Momo.
everything.
I think we add Momo money to this story, and it will be perfect.
100%.
Yep.
At this point, I don't know that I could play Cyberpunk without Momo money.
Wow. All right.
That kind of changes it. So I'm going to take a swipe at this now.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm going to slap out the bureaucracies and cut the red tape where it needs to be cut and pile on more red tape where it needs to be piled on. In order the first part to turn, turn him into meat.
Honestly think that if you would have told me that as a player to GM situation, I probably would have just shot you. But go ahead, please.
oh, come on. Bureaucracy to show him how hard it would become a DJ. It would be easier just to be meat. With the new objective, moving police around, getting him the cabs that he needs, stuff like that. Put the paper shuffling to good use.
Cool. Okay. And Dark Pond, I think you're the last one. Well, but here's the thing, because they hired a team. So what if you're part of Infinity's team? And what are you gonna do?
Well, listen. No, seriously, girlfriend, listen to this. I will surely tell you what I'm gonna do. What's gonna happen is we're gonna dress up with my wardrobe skills, and we're gonna look fantabulous, baconastic, and from there we are gonna put on the most amazing street moving show. I'll be playing guitar Momo style, wow, and we will take the pig in his blanket, will be like a crown and a cape, and he will look fantabulous. And we will just go on the road and hit club, and club as we slowly make our way outside of Night City.
I'm on board with that plan. I'll play drums.
No, we can have Overwatch too, sweetheart. You can be up on the building with the sniper rifle, and you can shoot whoever gets unruly. I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna be jamming with the pig.
Jamming with the pig. Awesome. Very awesome. All right, so that's thank you very much for that, Insomnia Night. That was fantastic. Sir Snortsworth. I mean, geez, we got to almost figure out how to blend that.
He's our mascot now.
Yeah. So mechanics for Cyberpunk Red. We have some time yet to talk about some of the DLCs that are out there that can help enhance your game. The system itself is really I personally, I think it's a very simple system. There are a lot of skills, yeah, but you depending on how you decide to run the game, I mean, you can really bury your head in the idea of everything has to have a skill tied to it, or you can take my approach, which is, make it story based and have the player tell you, I mean, I want to use my this, and here's what I want to do. And does it make sense? If what they're telling you doesn't make sense, then, then you can challenge that as a GM. Just say, well, I don't know. I think it sounds more like an athletics roll, but you know. So there's that piece. Before we go into the DLC piece, we should probably talk about the weapons and how they work. And one thing that is potentially confusing for people is like area effect weapons, suppressive fire. So who wants to tackle suppressive fire? How does that work? Because I mean, if I have a weapon that's capable of suppressive fire, I really have like three options to use it in most cases. Let's say a shotgun.
I have a feeling Roland could cover this one.
Yeah, Roland. He doesn't use shotguns. He uses grenades.
Roland shoots his friends and enemies. He's an equal opportunity guy.
I was about to say, I don't know if
Does combat
suppressing fire is good with grenades, but you do you.
Basically,
you said suppressive. I thought you said depressive.
No, suppressive fire as a mechanic. It's primarily, I want to say, shotgun or rifles. But either one of you guys can correct me on that one. Basically, mechanically speaking, it's a motive fire free, I believe, that you can use to keep your enemies kind of from taking an action. And in Cyberpunk, right, you have a movement and an action ability. And suppressive fire basically takes that away from your enemies or your enemies from you. But I believe there's a will roll that goes with it, right, Greg?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to beat a particular will DC, and then you'll be able to act. If not, you have to essentially give up your action and go for cover. And cover is also another mechanic in Cyberpunk, which is very interesting.
All right, so that's and we'll cover that one too, because that's easily misunderstood as to what cover is. And again, we're really just talking about the mechanics of the game. Rules is written, maybe offer some options that are in there. We don't I don't play absolutely rules as written. I have my own homebrew that I add into games as well. So area effect. Let's who wants to tackle that? How does that work? Like explosives. Everybody's quiet. So you want to try
Okay,
it?
so explosives.
Tell
All
us about it.
explosives deal damage to all targets, including the terrain, in a 10 meter by 10 meter square, center of which is your intended target. You can only roll damage once for all targets.
Yes. Damage affects everybody within that area. How do you avoid it?
I believe you can use your reflex to.
Only if you have an 8. Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody with reflexes of 8 or higher can choose to individually dodge the blast by rolling higher than your original check, placing themselves outside of the blast area if they succeed.
Right. So rules as written, explosives are extremely deadly. I mean, you can really mess some people up. That is actually
stock up on your grenades, boys and girls.
It's actually one of the reasons why I started letting people make that roll. That hey, I could possibly get lucky and dodge out of this or something like that.
And if it wasn't stated earlier, mechanically speaking, Cyberpunk runs on a 2-dice system. It's D10s and D6s.
Yes.
D10s are your do the thing, and D6s typically used for like damage.
And since we're there and we're talking about we just determined that if you're in the area effect of that explosion, the person rolls damage once and everybody takes the same amount of damage. Now, how does that work? If you're in that area of effect and this explosive just went off, how do you determine how much damage you took? Or if you took any?
Well, do you have cover? I mean, cover would factor into that.
Mhm.
I think explosives are really a nice way to get rid of cover. But while you're behind it, still get to absorb some of that, and then obviously whatever would get through that would then hit your personal armor,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your stopping power, correct? Yep.
your stopping power.
Yeah.
Stopping
Yep.
power.
That's-
Which I love about Cyberpunk, because now as I think about it, it's kind of like the John Wick movies where your clothing counts as, or can, depending on what kind of stuff you're wearing, count as armor.
Absolutely.
Because Cyberpunk has your typical, flak jacket and stuff like that, but then when you get into like the DLCs and supplements, you could be John Wick and bouncing bullets off you with your suit jacket.
yeah, that's. I mean,
So
that's a good visual. I mean, that's what I always
yeah,
think
Yeah.
when I
Mhm.
see him, blocking.
hmm
It's like that's some damn good armor there, buddy.
that's a primo Armani suit there, bud.
That
Armani
is
sponsor us.
well, okay, so since we're right there and we're talking about that, so SP and how does that work? So let's say I have a John Wick Armani suit and it has an SP10. Um if I what happens? So if I take less than 10 points of damage, the bullet bounces off, is that essentially?
Pretty much.
Okay, so what if I take more than 10 points of damage? What happens?
Rules as written, the SP will first of all you'll take, so let's say you do 12 damage. The stopping power is going to absorb 10. It's going to lose 1 because you've kind of, it's not as strong as it once was, and you're going to take 2 points damage to your health.
Okay,
So
so
it's simple. Again, once you get used to it, it's pretty simple.
well, okay, so what is the difference between a normal round and an armor piercing round then?
Armor piercing rounds going to ablate is the term used in the rulebook. Ablate your armor by 2. So going back to that scenario, you get hit for 12 damage. Your armor is going to lose 1, but if you're using armor piercing rounds, it'll lose 2, and you'll still take the 2 points of damage.
Okay. So is there any benefit in using low caliber armor piercing rounds? Low caliber means only like 2 or 3 dice worth of damage, maybe.
Well, that is what you're describing, I believe, is the rate of fire of a weapon.
No. I'm asking
No?
like I'm asking a so the weapon actually does has a damage rating to it. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's all your damage is not based on the
Oh,
bullet.
okay. No.
Right. But
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
see
what
what
I'm
you're saying.
asking you, because there are different types of ammunition. Okay.
Yes.
So a regular round is straight up just exactly as you just described it. But let's say I want to use an armor piercing round. What is the benefit of that?
Again, it's going to ablate your armor by, or your SP, your stopping power by 2,
Okay.
if it pierces.
All right. And there are other custom styles of,
Yeah.
of ammunition that you can use. And
Yeah, I
you can
think
create your own.
there's that is also very true. I think that's a role specific discussion. Not to get off on that rabbit hole, but yeah, there are several different types of different ammunition that you can use based on your weapon. Um, get really creative.
So let's jump over to hand-to-hand weapons and Infinity.
Yep.
Question for you. All right. So
Okay.
once again, I have my John Wick Armani badass armor that
Mhm.
nothing can touch because I have the badass armor. I mean, it's very expensive. So, and you're coming at me with a switchblade, right? Or whatever.
Okay.
Hand-to-hand weapon
All
of
right.
some sort.
Switchblade. All right, we'll roll with it.
So what happens? My SP10, my armor's SP10. So,
Well, depending upon how much the damage the switchblade does, it's probably not even going to do anything. Might just scratch the armor. To be honest.
how much does it actually have to do to get past the armor?
If I believe, now I'm not an expert on this, but I believe it has to do, what is it, 50% of the damage?
Yes. So your SP is
So,
halved for melee
yeah.
weapons. Yes.
So really, for example, say like if you're using a light armor jack, which is an SP of 11, so I'm going to have to do at least, I think it's a round up on this, so
Yeah.
I have to do 6 points of damage for it to go through at that point.
Right. Right. And your little switchblade does a D6 damage. So, I mean.
So, yeah, I gotta do max damage on that. So I'm gonna be looking at my switchblade going, why did I wake up today?
So one thing that I do, and it's not necessarily, there are some ambiguous pieces when it comes to rules as written. One thing that I do is if it's, so defender always wins in this case, but if the armor will absorb 6 points of damage and you do 6 points of damage, I will count that as evaded armor and it will lose 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
So what else do we have? I mean, that's pretty much it's a pretty decent overview of damage and how that works and how the armor works. Shields. Anybody ever used a shield? Because they do have shields in the game. So how does a shield work?
Shield is just extra stopping power, but once it's ablated, it's done. It'll absorb whatever it's rated at, and then once it's gone, it's gone.
Right. And it's restrictive because you can't use a two-handed weapon and a shield. Use a one-handed weapon and a shield.
Street sweeper for the win.
So if
I've never used them.
If I have a shield, I have a shield already, and I want to pull a firearm and shoot you. Can I do that? You have 1 turn and you have movement. So can I do all that with my 1 turn? I already have a shield.
If it's a pistol, I think you might be able to.
So it doesn't take an action to draw a weapon. But what if I want to, can I put that weapon away and grab a different one? And shoot you?
No.
I don't think so.
Are we talking about a human shield? Or a regular shield?
Anytime.
Drop the weapon, yeah, there you go.
Because there are human shields. There's actually rules in the game for that too. Human shields.
So how do you get a human shield?
You must grapple them.
So you have to grapple them and win, and then you have control of them, right?
Yeah.
They have to go where you want them to go, and so say I'm your human shield. How do I get out of that position? Am I, you just beat me in grappling, so now I have to stand there and be your bullet absorbing meat shield?
Shoot the hostage.
Always shoot the hostage.
Well, you're gonna have to break free.
How do I break free?
Well, that's gonna be close quarters combat.
Posing grapple.
Yeah.
You mean I can't use contortionism?
I mean, if you can make a good case for it.
I was gonna say that's up to the DM, but I if it were me, I'd let it ride. I'd run with that.
I do love this one part in the book, though. It says a human shield who dies while you have them equipped automatically becomes a shield with hit points equal to their body.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Seriously?
wow.
It literally
Thought of
verbatim
everything.
from the
Oh.
book. When they die, they become a shield with a stopping power equal to their body.
You know that.
Makes sense.
And then,
It truly does make
Yeah.
and
sense.
then once that's gone, you have a pile
Hamburger.
of soup.
I was saying,
Sir,
Red mist, yeah.
Sir, you have Sir Snotsworth meat.
yeah. Yep. Jesus.
All right.
Ah.
So we got that piece. One other thing we can I don't want to get too much into this, but so we talked about medicine, how that works. What about the techie skills? So well, actually, wait. There's three different. So you have the role abilities, all right,
Mhm.
and how they work. There's three different role abilities for. Well, there's four different role abilities for a solo. There's three different role abilities for a med tech. Let's just pick at the med tech for a moment. What are the three options, and how does that work?
Oh, let me get back up there.
Surgery is one of them.
Surgery is one of them.
Yeah.
Well, we know there's
Pharmaceuticals is another one,
pharmaceuticals.
and then
Yeah,
cryotech.
pharmaceuticals, the best one.
Drugs.
Drugs, yeah.
Yeah, third one's cryotech. So you guys want to explain how those could be? I mean, what would you take if you were a med tech? What would you focus on, or would you focus on one of those, or would you spread it out so you have a little
Drugs.
bit of skill in each? All
Drugs.
right.
Absolutely drugs.
All right.
Why care about a gunshot wound when you can just ignore it?
Because eventually you're gonna bleed to death.
That's a
Eventually.
problem for later. That's a problem for like
But you
3
won't
rounds.
worry about it because you feel so good. It doesn't matter.
So if you're ever in a game
Exactly.
with Rob and he's your med tech, be very worried.
If he's your med tech, I'm sorry. Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
That's a future B problem. Let's move
Exactly.
on.
It's a future me problem. I'm fine right now.
All right.
Yeah, pharmacy.
You'd be the
I
pharmacist.
kind of.
I always
want
thought
to
it-
make a med tech.
I always thought it'd be fun to do like the surgeon, focused on cybernetics, and like as you spoke people in Night City, literally act like a ghoul and harvest the good cyberware you want out of them, and then put them in your friends.
Oh
That
no,
makes sense.
he's
Oh.
gonna
Yeah.
be the scav. He's a
scav.
scav.
It's why not put good
Look, you
cyberware to
don't want
use?
stuff to go to waste.
Yes.
It's recycling.
Hey, there's
So
good,
you'd
good
rather be
money
a
in that.
scav than take drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least I'm aware of what's going on.
I'd rather be a scav and take drugs. I mean,
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, let's do both.
Everybody can take
Why
drugs.
limit yourself?
Oh my god, we're gonna have a party of scavs. I swear. See, this is what Night City does to you.
I mean, really, the abilities are just kind of like specializations within the general field of what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, take for example, like the tech's ability, Maker. Well, that's going to be so much fun. I mean, you can sit there and like, okay, I'm going to use my ability to cook up some kind of trap explosive for this car that's driving by that they're not going to be able to find.
Right.
There's a lot of things. It adds a lot of functionality within the specific role and group that you are playing as, and you could lot of ability and fun that you can have with those. Just like Dark said, I'm going to go harvest.
Yes.
There will be a good harvest today.
Yes, ghouls. I want to run this campaign. Come on, let's go.
The new gang, the ghouls.
Stan Vetistan, yes, let's hook this up.
Wow. No, there's so many ways you can use those, and the role abilities really help distinguish the characters. The role abilities are skills that only that role can have. And ideally is you could have a couple of different roles in the game. That is something that's new to Red. Really wasn't done like in 2020. But once you change whatever your primary role is, that's where you're going to put your points. So anything that you gain going forward is going to go into that particular. So let's chat about that too. How do you? So it's not character or level progression, or you don't really have levels in this. So character progression is different from like D&D or a lot of other games. It's very similar to how Free League does character progression, but not exactly so. So, anybody want to take a stab at that? What can you change or improve with your character?
Well, skills, obviously.
Yep. You can use improvement points on your skills. You can use improvement points on your roll ability. Can you use improvement points on your attributes?
Oh,
Ooh.
the only thing which you cannot improve.
Well,
Which
you can improve
cyberware
upon them.
and bio,
Right,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
well,
Cyberware,
okay,
but
yeah.
bio.
Well,
BioWare.
you specifically said improvement points,
Right,
not through other means. So you cannot use improvement points to improve on your attributes, which I like because in most other systems you can, but in Cyberpunk it's really, first of all, it adds more weight to your attributes, and it really lends itself to like, okay, you are who you are, and you kind of got to work with that. But as we did state, cyberware can affect your attributes, most notably your body, and then drugs can affect other aspects of you.
Well, the drugs are mainly temporary, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're temporary, they're not permanent, but
Yeah.
you can use them to give yourself a higher cool stat, higher empathy stat.
What
I think
Oh my God, he's glowing.
drugs?
Oh wait, no, he's sparkling. There we go. They're
Well,
sparkling.
but drugs and cyberware can both have a positive and negative impact on your stats. And
Oh, yeah.
and drugs can have a long-term negative effect. There's always addiction.
Addictions. Yeah, the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember.
Critical injuries can also lower your stats too. Temporary or permanently, depending on, do you have the money to fix it?
Yep. Yeah.
Come on, does anybody in Night City ever have the money to fix anything?
I'm kind of thinking that Momo, when he gets his medic job, out there scabbing, might.
Momo Money moonlights as a scavenger. Out here carving people up, man.
Yep.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do in Night City. That sounds.
Edge runners hunt people like that. Just FYI. Oh wow!
I bet you edge runners have a lot of nice cyberware on their bodies.
Well, yeah, and how particular are you about where that cyberware came from? I mean,
look, as long as I don't know, I don't care.
As long as it's sterilized, hey, that's all that matters.
If they want to keep coming after us for scabbing and keep bringing us new updated cyberware You know what? It
We'll
sounds
take
like
it.
a great. Yeah, it sounds like a great business
Yep.
plan.
Just note to self: don't have good cyberware near Foxy or Darkpawn's characters. They might decide that you're a walking store or some shit.
Hey,
Sleep with one eye open.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
somebody want to take
yes.
care of that.
I
Sure,
got
there's
it.
cyberware for sleeping with one eye open, isn't there?
There is, yes.
See? So if you have that, you might not want to sleep with one eye open because then we'll know you've got it.
Ooh.
Pretty sure there is, at least. I don't know. Sure.
See, that's
There
why
is
it-
one
Go ahead.
that gives you a pillow in your arm.
Oh
Portable
yeah.
Hmm.
that's just lazy.
That's what I need.
For the
Portable
lazy
pillow.
edge runner.
Hey, no, I mean that's actually quite practical because I mean, if you're an edge runner, you don't have a place to sleep sometimes. Hey, I'm just gonna go out on the curb, just lay down, going, oh, this feels good. Bed on an arm, anywhere you're at. That's quite practical.
Absolutely, and it
Yes.
just depends on the type of, it depends on what you want to do with the game. If it's all about combat and blowing things up and things, stuff like that, then yeah, okay, pillow in your arms probably not. I don't know, maybe. But you can be creative. You can even like the Edge Runners anime was not
Mhm.
completely about destroying things, you know what I mean, and the fighting piece to it. I mean, there's a lot of good story in there, and I would challenge you to be creative and tell some good story.
I so now want to build a character that grapples and then smothers people to death with the
With the
pillow
pillow?
under his arm.
That's awesome.
I was thinking about that, Dark Pond. Like some weirdo got the pillow implant and pouring chloroform
Yes.
on that shit. Just
Just go to sleep. Go to sleep,
Yeah,
Grandma.
I mean-
Go to sleep, Grandma.
I think of so for example, one good use of that pillow. You've got a hobo out on the street, but this guy's not a hobo. He's probably the de facto information vendor in the area, and all he does is goes around, pretends he's sleeping, gathering information.
Sounds like John Wick. We're back to John Wick.
Well,
All the
no, well,
hobos
yeah,
were
kind of.
they were all in on it. Yeah.
They
the
were.
Bowery
True.
King. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bowery.
his connect.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's like I said, practical uses for it, but I think Dark Pond's he's onto something there. I like that.
Yeah, he is. That's. I mean, we were thinking along the same lines, but
Yeah, this is a
Ah.
mess up here. Welcome to my nightmare. Come on in. The water's
vehicles
warm.
also. For those of you who were curious, yes, vehicles are a big thing in the Cyberpunk universe, tabletop as well.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And your driving skills and all of those things, it depends on what you want to do, because there's enough lore out there that you can really experience all of it. For the storyline that I've been running for GaryCon, I kind of let the cat out of the bag to folks this year. I am eventually going to take that story into space, and that is it is supported through the 2020 lore. So it'll be interesting. People actually get to that playing those characters, starting out in Night City, doing all the things that you do, and eventually being part of a story that actually takes you into suborbital space. So fun.
That would be interesting.
Well, hey man, just got to come to GaryCon, check it out.
Yeah, I'm a few states too far for that. That's
There's
like
no
a
such thing. We have people who come to
3
GaryCon from
Australia.
3-day
the
drive
ocean, so
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, 3-day drive. That's no problem, right?
no problem. Just Get out your,
Or
pillow that
you
you
could
have
do
installed
this
in
Oh
your
thing.
yes,
arm and
my
take a
arm
nap on the
pillow.
side of the
Yes,
road.
the
Yeah.
arm pillow.
You
Yeah,
could do
I gotta
this
go give me
thing
that.
called hopping on a plane. I mean, and wipe
Yeah.
that 3 days out, no problem. Oh,
It'll be at least one day. Because
Yeah.
I'm sorry, after a flight, I just want to sleep.
Yeah, it'd be about what 4-5 hour flight, maybe.
you've never
Depends
been
where you are
on
in the
you've never been
country.
on business
Yeah.
trips. I'm taking it.
Oh, I have, just not many.
No, I mean Rob.
Oh, Rob, yeah.
I've flown a couple times I've done this, but one in particular, I flew out to North Carolina to meet with a company group out there. So we went out there to meet with a supplier, 3 or 4 hours in meetings to negotiate a contract, and then flew back same day.
I'd be exhausted after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better man than me, because I'd be one ornery son of a bitch.
Well, let's take a few minutes and talk about DLCs, because there's a lot of content
there
out
actually is
there
quite
that is
a number of them.
absolutely free to enhance your game. And I really enjoy quite a bit of it. I don't think I've used all of it yet, but some of the things that I've used is like the weather. There's a whole weather channel style thing that's set up to help you determine what the weather is going to be like for the day. I
I
mean,
was actually going to mention that.
yeah, how much do you actually think about that when it comes to playing in Night City? I mean, what is your mental image of being in Night City is probably for a lot of people because they've played 2077, they're going to kind of mirror it based on that.
Yeah.
In the time of the Red, blood rain is a thing because of the radiation that's still up in the atmosphere from our friends at Militech blowing up the downtown area with a nuclear warhead.
Allegedly. As Militech's representative, we can neither confirm nor deny.
Gotcha. All right. Somebody throw a rock on him, would you?
Damn.
So
But,
you have that. What are some other ones that you guys like?
aside from the weather one, I had on tip of my tongue and it went away. Is shit. Have someone else go. It'll come back to me.
Anybody think of any of them off the top of their head? You have the date night thing.
Oh yes. And I promise this is coincidence. And this actually DLC was co-authored by Cody Pondsmith, Mike's son. One of his characters, Hornet, is the resident pharmacist. He is I think this is one of the first, or if not the only DLC that relates to like street pharmaceuticals, and has like a whole list of them and everything from poisons and things like that. So yeah, that's an interesting one, primarily because you get to there's a little blurb about Hornet, which I really liked. What's the other one?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't looked at a whole lot of the Cyberpunk Red DLC, but there is an actual ton of it.
There are absolutely. There's a bunch of them
I
out
mean,
there.
so many things. Just even on the Artalsorian website, just all kinds of stuff. There's character sheets and conversion guides and gameplay guides and new weapons and gear, like just all
Typically every
things.
year they release at least one new DLC. So some of the ones that are out there right now, like you have the dating one, you have actually there's a there's a whole bundle pack out there.
One of them I like makes the Night City Tarot. We've used that before.
Yep. Yep.
Tarot cards makes the already critical injury sheet even deadlier,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we need.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We just make
But-
it even deadlier.
There's a DLC out there called Old Guns Never Die, which came out in 2020, 2021, and that is actually a crossover kit that helps you take the weapons from 2020 and basically update them to Cyberpunk Red, which is pretty cool. You have Cyber Chairs, which is another interesting one for net runners.
They got
yeah.
a lot of weapon DLCs, like the 12 days of Wood Chipper's Garage.
Well, one that came up the other day in conversation is called Elf Lines.
Oh yes.
Would you care to tell us what is Elf Lines?
So you could have game inception with Elf Lines. I mean, you can be playing a TTRPG about playing an MMORPG in the game. So yes, Elf Lines is a supplement where you can play your PC, your player character can be playing a game as you're sitting there playing a game. Basically, it's kind of like a fantasy world that is in lore, MMO, virtual MMO, or Night City, and the Cyberpunk universe. It's really cool.
It's basically World of Warcraft, right? Kind of in the Cyberpunk.
I'd say it's about like that. Yeah. No, that you can have a whole story around that. You know, your characters are just playing a game.
It's a neat concept that I haven't seen in any other game where you actually have a role-playing game within the role-playing game where you can have your characters. You create a character to create a character so that character can play the character.
Play a video game. Well, it obviously it's definitely funny, but I like it because if you look at all the DLCs, they add, and I'm not saying other systems don't do this, but they add life to Night City, to Cyberpunk, and they, like I said, they kind of break away from the, chasing the eddies, fighting the corpos, shoot them up kind of thing. They give you something to really break that up, and I mean that's even something that you see in roles themselves, and I think something that we talk about yet was the downtime activities you can do as different roles.
Yep, and that's actually there's a DLC for that called Salvaging Night City, which gives you an opportunity to figure out, hey, what happened in my downtime? Was it profitable or was it not? Did I make some friends or did I make some enemies? And it's every one of these things in some way helps generate new story content because it gives you new leads, new ideas to expand your world and to continue to push the story forward so that it doesn't get stale. And it's all generated from the system, which is fantastic. All right, so we basically busted through DLCs really quickly with lots of words. So,
any questions from the audience?
I think I hear crickets.
I think so, yeah.
About any final thought? No, gotcha. Okay. Any final thoughts on mechanics for Cyberpunk?
No, you're good, Insomnia. Dude, you're totally
you're fine, man. You're fine.
You're totally fine, dude.
Yeah.
Trust me, we know this has been.
You've given us a whole set of plot hooks, by the way, so
You have.
Definitely.
Focus on your thing, man. Hey, nobody talk to Insomnia because he's busy.
Hey, pss, 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 pss.
Okay.
My mind is a plot hook.
There you go.
I don't know. That's actually a good resource.
I'm just saying that because I love you, man. You're trying to focus.
All right. Thinking.
Anything
All right,
there?
well.
No.
I think, don't forget to
Yep.
donate your points and stuff so that we can get somebody from the audience into the Walking Dead game. Because, we've got several people who are watching every time, but every time they watch, they have to save our butts. So they're spending
Yeah.
their points doing that, which we very much appreciate.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they could message me, and I would be more than happy to donate because I could let a couple in. So, hint, 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 everybody.
I know. That's why they need to join the Discord so
Already.
that they can find you and message you.
Yes.
I know.
And say, hey, do you mind? Because, I've got enough points. I'd be happy to, just throw somebody into the wolves.
Oh, Insomnia Knight's probably even got more points than me. I'm certain, he's could message him, say, hey, I want to get on The Walking Dead. Can you help me? Help me, bro. Come on, bro, help me.
It's a points raiser. It's like a fundraiser, but it's points.
Yep.
There you go. Absolutely. So I think we're going to do a raid tonight. We're going to raid into an appropriately named channel for our evening, and that's excessive profanity. So
I don't think we've been excessive.
Wow. I
Excessive.
remember excessive profanity.
we haven't
the-
we haven't been, but we missed out, so we got to send people somewhere where they can get their dose of excessive profanity. He's not that bad.
No, he's not. He's
No.
I remember him from way back in the day. Actually, he's one of the first guys I followed. I made my account.
Well, go check them out. Show them some love. See us back here next week on Wednesday. We may be doing something this weekend. I think maybe Foxy and I might be doing some game streams this weekend. Like video game streams, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of up to Foxy.
Yeah, I'm getting my new desk in so that we'll see how it goes. Because you want excessive profanity. I'm going to be putting a desk together and then transferring everything from my current desk, 5 monitors, stream deck, I'll have to take a picture of it after I'm done.
Is
Because
Bash
it's terrifying.
is Bash gonna be
5
helping?
monitors? Yeesh.
Ooh.
Huh? Look, man, don't judge.
I thought my 4 was bad.
I just don't have enough eyes to keep track of them.
Well, I mean, I've got, let's see, Discord, and then my gameplay's on one. I've got Twitch and everything so I can monitor streams open on another. I've got my VTuber software on another one.